you amazing, beautiful people, and welcome back to another Tuesday reaction video. Easily the most requested reaction I had last week was this one right here. It is Taylor Swift's latest interview, I believe, with the New York Times. Now, this is quite a big interview. It goes on for quite a while, but of course, we're gonna check out every single freaking second of it, and I'm gonna upload the raw reaction here to YouTube like we always do. I've heard that she reveals some interesting stuff, that the interview is absolutely amazing, and that it is one that every Swiftie should actually check out, so I'm excited to find out why. Now, if you want to support these reactions, please make sure you do so by liking, subscribing, leaving a comment. I know every single YouTube says that, but it helps the videos so much. And yeah, let me know what you want me to check out next Tuesday. But without more talking from me, let's jump into my first time ever reaction to Taylor Swift's interview with the New York Times.
It's still such a mystery to me, even though I've been writing songs for so long, and I've started songs and finished songs so many different ways. They've gone through so many journeys. They've happened quickly. They've happened over time. They've been inspired by my life, by mythology, by fables, by books, by movies, by
characters. Anyone else just like looking at her hand? Like anyone looking at the fact that she's got a ring? Don't you just love that now?
Warnings, lessons, and they never quite happen exactly the same way, and I still don't quite understand how it works. I have this very strong opinion that when you're young, you feel things on such a intense and detailed level. There's an attention to detail when you are like 17 to 22 years old and you're longing, or you're reaching and grasping but never holding someone's attention or someone's love or someone's dedication, and you can't understand why. You spend all day thinking about it. You notice everything. You notice candle ash on the cuff of the shirt and the button, and it's everything that makes the mythology of those intense feelings that you have. And I've always tried to, like, without being a completely unhinged adult, keep that level of detail and intensity when it comes to trying to describe a feeling. I started writing songs when I was 12. As soon as...
This is going to be super interesting. You can already tell. And it's not what Taylor's saying, even though it is. It's the way it's shot. Like the opening and just her speaking, and it feels like more of a more like I don't like saying podcast, like an audio book. That's the vibe I'm getting here. Like I could imagine just listening to this on the radio, just Taylor just talking. That's the energy is giving off here.
My love for singing and picking up an instrument happened. Songwriting just spontaneously started becoming the entire cornerstone of my life. I think the first songs...
See, they don't even ask the questions. It's all Taylor.
...that I fell in love with was the type of songwriting that I think folk and country is really kind of known for. It's like that story time structure. Songs like Harper Valley PTA or Goodbye Earl by the Dixie Chicks, or like, any amazing Kenny Chesney song where like, a hypothetical structure would be, first verse, little girl, learns a lesson that in the chorus her mom teaches her about. Then the little girl grows up and now she's a teenager and she realizes, oh my God, my mom was right about this. Now the second time you hear the hook, that same hook means something a little bit different because she's like grown up in her life.
Yeah, you might change one word. First chorus might be I, second chorus might be we or you, and the last chorus could be we or you. You shift them slightly but keep them the same, and it tells a story. This is why I love country music as well, because country music is done with that brilliant storytelling aspect, and usually with like a twist or reveal at the end, or some kind of realization, and I've always enjoyed that
Then
as
the
well.
bridge, maybe she goes on in her life, she has a little girl, she imparts that wisdom onto her, and then if you really want to get me to cry, like bring back that same first line of the song and end the song with it. So that was the first thing that made me think it's got to be country music. That was the first type that I really fell in love with. But then lyricism, I was the most intensely impacted by emo music, right? Dashboard Confessional, Chris Carrabba, Fall Out Boy, Pete Wentz's lyrics, how they take a common phrase and then they just twist the knife of it, right? Like, I'm just a notch in your bedpost, but you're just a line in a song. Drop a heart, break a name. right? Like it's drop a name, break a heart. But they switched it. And I like, those are the kind of lyrics where I would read the lyrics to those songs, or the specificity of Hands Down by Dashboard Confessional, where I'd be reading those lyrics and I'd just finish reading a line and just go, oh my God, I got a publishing deal.
I never thought she would say Fall Out Boy were some of her inspirational styles when it comes to lyrics and that kind of emo music. And I love that she calls it emo music. I never would have assumed Fall Out Boy would be classified as emo music. But then again, I don't really know what emo music was. When I was growing up, we had a few people that would sort of, call themselves that. And the only band they ever listened to, there was like two. There was two bands. It was either My Chemical Romance or Black Veil Brides. That was literally it.
When I was 14, I was signed by a guy named Arthur Buenahora at Sony, and he just believed that I had a perspective that mattered. And I actually asked him if he could please hold my songs from being pitched to other artists. I was like, just give me some time to try to get a record deal. I'm gonna try so hard. I could almost compare it to the Brill Building.
Her songs being pitched to other artists. What does she mean by that? What, she wrote and went to them with the songs and they took the songs and could give them to other people? What does she mean by that?
They have these offices on Music Row, or at least they had a lot of them then, that were like these small houses, these like cottages and bungalows. Now we have really tall buildings. Basically, you'd go there and there'd be 3 songwriters writing in this room, 3 songwriters in this room, 4 in this room, 2 in this room. And I would just go to school, then my mom would drive me downtown 30 minutes, and I would go and I'd have a songwriting session with someone that I'd never met before, but I really didn't want to come in unprepared, so I'd walk in with 4 to 5 nearly finished things, 2 half-finished things, 10 hooks, because I just never wanted people to be like, yeah, there's this like little kid that thinks she can swan her way into Music Row and just like write songs with these hit songwriters. But I think one of my favorite things about the Nashville music scene, country music and the storytelling where it was when I arrived there was almost this tradition of sort of breaking the fourth wall, making...
I really love how that even as a kid, Taylor wanted to make sure that she wasn't taken under a wing, but more accepted. It wasn't so much her being guided as she wanted to make sure that she could be part of that world. She wasn't looking for a mentor as such. She was looking to be accepted. She was looking to fit in. So she always made sure to go to these places with work done, with preparation, over-prepared.
The song then a part of the song, or the writing of the song becomes a part of the song. And I did that in a song called Tim McGraw, where, I'm singing about this kind of love lost and hoping that person thinks of me, and then in the bridge it's revealed that I wrote this song and I hope he hears it. The song Our Song, which I still love so much, it's all about this romance and this relationship, and then in the end it says, I grabbed a pen and an old napkin and I wrote down our song. So I loved doing that. I still kind of love doing that. The kind of just like, and it was me.
And it was me.
My favorite end plot twist, I think, that I've done in songwriting is the ending of The Last Great American Dynasty. That's my...
It's pretty freaking awesome when you think, like, I grabbed a pen and a napkin and I wrote down our song. And the whole song is, our song is a favorite song. And it's like, our song is the song I made.
My favorite one. It is just so much fun to tell this story about this real woman who lived in history, and she defied the social norms, and she drove people crazy, and she had a marvelous time ruining everything. And you talk about the house she lived in on the coast, and basically then in the end you're like, she moved away from Holiday House. It sat quietly on that beach, free of women with madness, their men and bad habits, and then it was bought by me. And you're like, every time I get to that part when I would sing it on tour, I just have to kind of like I wanted my grin to go from here to here, but that looks crazy. So it's like I had to taper down my own excitement that hook happened. I learned you can't ever really tell if other people are gonna like it, but...
I love this question. A song that Taylor feels like people slept on. A song that she's proud of, that she made that she feels like didn't get the appreciation it deserves?
Oftentimes when I love it to a certain degree, that kind of tends to match up with people. And it could be that it doesn't match up with the way people feel till six years later. I loved the Reputation album. I was like, you guys say what you want. I know what I did. I love it. Like, go with God, sorry. Like, you can come around if you want. It's okay if you don't. And then, 6 or 7 years later, people are like, oh my God, like, ready for it. Like, people slept on that song.
Are you ready for it?
You're telling me that when Reputation came out, it wasn't just like fucking amazing? Ready for it? People slept on Ready for it? What? It was like the second I heard it, I had goosebumps. I listened to my. You're telling me people slept on this song? I am disappointed. How? This song is a
When we
fucking
were making that
amazing
song, I just remember like I wanted to like headbang myself through a wall. I felt that when we wrote Ready for It. I felt that way during writing Getaway Car. I felt that way. I think the first time I felt like I don't care if people hate this because I love it so much was when I wrote the song Love Story. When I was 17, sitting in my bedroom, mad at my parents. Because
I like a Love Story because it is just cheesy and happy, and it takes something tragic and makes it just awesome.
Sitting in my bedroom, mad at my parents. Because they wouldn't let me go on a date with a guy who was too old, so I shouldn't have been on a date with him anyway. And this is why you need to discipline your kids, because they might write songs that go number one.
True story. Karen, that resonates.
When I wrote Speak Now, I was 18 and 19. And I was coming from this big, massive moment that I had with an album called...
It's super interesting to think of the fact that some of these songs that we listen to, well, every song that we listen to from Taylor came from a random moment. A story, a moment in her life. Like, you will go out, go on a date, go somewhere. It could go right, it could go wrong. You come home, you're on a train or a bus or in a car or whatever. And then in those moments where we're just living our normal lives would be the moments where Taylor would take pen and paper and write a song that then millions of people around the world would listen to and feel. It's kind of crazy to think that right now, wherever you're watching this, in 10 minutes time would be the same as Taylor, and she would write a song in a situation exactly the same as whatever one you're in right now. And then we would all listen to that song. When you think about all the songs we love and where they've come from and how they started, it's just kind of fun.
Fearless, and it had won Album of the Year at the Grammys, and it was this big, it was the first time there was like this big debate over whether I deserved to be there. There are always gonna be like little debates, do you know what I mean? But this was like headline news. I was like, these discussions can lead to a really bad place if I don't do something to counteract them and to prove that, no, it wasn't my co-writers that did all this work. And yes, I am the author of this entire body of work that I was very proud of. I'd written so many songs alone, and I love collaboration. I love co-writers, but it's not something that I needed. It's when I started to trust myself as an editor, because a lot of what I'll do in a session, even now, and one of the reasons why Liz Rose and Jack Antonoff became like people that I loved to write with for albums and albums, is because I'll have this stream of consciousness pouring out, and Liz would sit there with a notepad. But when you take that away, I just started, recording everything, right? Recording everything on a voice memo.
This is one of my favorite things about her, like, behind the scenes stuff, is you just see her, like, sitting there making a song within 10 minutes, and then you'll just see like the other perspective where Taylor's sending people these voice memos, and it's like, okay, I wrote this, blah, blah, and she's just playing it on the piano, and it's like a minute and a half of a random song. By the afternoon, it's done.
Because there will be times when I'm like kind of in a zone and I'm writing so fast that there's no chance I'm gonna remember what that melody was that I did, 2 minutes ago that I thought was cool for the verse. That was a really important album for me in terms of in terms of becoming a writer that knew I could trust my own intuition.
That's some incredible advice that Taylor gives like up-and-coming songwriters, is just make sure you're recording everything. Second you start the writing process, just record it. Because you might write something, say something, do something a certain way, and then forget it like 5 minutes later.
I have little phonetic things. I love alliterations. I love, two words that start with the same letter Love that. I don't like to have a word end with the same letter that the next word starts with. For example, in the song, Our Song, it was supposed to be when you're on the phone and you talk real low. But I was like, I don't like the real low. So it's turned into when you talk real slow. Certain words just like fly for me. And I think one of the reasons I like to take either.
Crazy when you think that that was supposed to be real low. I feel like real low, bizarre, like, I feel like it actually works better when you think about it, because you get quieter and that sort of thing. But real slow is obviously what she preferred, but I never would have, like, that's crazy. That whole song was written a different way.
Cautionary sort of phrases or things that you've heard in books, films, kind of these classic lines, and then repurposing them, inverting them, or like redefining them in some way is because I sort of love
Changing
the
a story you've
combination
heard before
of modern vernacular and sort of old world or classic timeless speak. So in the song The Fate of Ophelia, there's a lot of sort of modern terminology and speak and kind of common phrases from the way that we talk now. But there's also, like in the bridge, there's a line from Hamlet that I repurposed.
Locked inside my memory, and only you possess the key. No longer.
I really gravitate towards juxtaposition and polarity in a line, right? So, hey, what could you possibly get for the girl who has everything and nothing all at once? Our coming of age has come and gone. You take one word that's at the beginning of the phrase and then you take its opposite, because ultimately, like, we are all filled with polarity, hypocrisy, these kind of battling features and factors that make up our jagged personalities. I have my phone and I
love that. The polarizing natures of a human being. Like, none of us are one direction. We are all hypocritical in our own right. And some people watching this might get their back up a little bit like, speak to yourself, but it's true. We have our hypocritical moments, as small or as grand as they may be. Sometimes they may just stay up here, but it's true. And the fact that Taylor's like talking about that and saying that's what humans are like, and she wants to make her music feel human, catered to humans. Why do you think that so many of us bloody relate to it? Because she makes it relatable.
this file where
That's the point.
I'll just be like, I know I like that, or I know I like that word, or I know I like that question. And then when I'll go into a session, I don't have social media on my phone. Like, it looks like I'm just endlessly scrolling, but I'm scrolling through the words in my file. If we're in the middle of writing a song, I'm searching for a perfect line that I thought of 4 years ago at 3 a.m. I think the importance for me of a bridge, it just feels like we're painting a picture, we're setting a scene. We have this opportunity as a songwriter to tell an entire story, an entire movie, or a very detailed description of one scene in a movie, or a very nuanced dynamic between people, or a complicated.
A lot of people I know in this space, well, not a lot of people, a couple of people I know in this space don't have social media on their phone either. And I think that is such a healthy thing to do. Like, they have it on their computer and they'll go on it like when they need to, but on a computer. And I think that is so good.
Emotion, and we have only so long to do this, you know? I've written some really long songs in my life, but for the most part, they're between 3.5 and 4 minutes. You can start, like, painting the picture in the verse. You can get to the heart of it at the chorus, but then the bridge can be where you zoom back, you walk 20 feet back, and you see what this entire painting was supposed to be. Like, you've seen brushstrokes, you've seen the color tones, but the bridge can be when you step back and you feel everything that piece of art was supposed to make you feel. That's just how I feel about bridges. I came up as a songwriter in Nashville, where structure is a huge part of how you effectively tell a story, right? You go verse, chorus, second verse, chorus, bridge, chorus. Maybe you repeat that first verse if you want to pull at some heartstrings, if it makes sense. Now, that's something that I absolutely subscribe to, that idea that it's, structure is important. But I think that when you write enough songs, and at least in my case, the intuitive part of your songwriting brain can kind of create a new structure that's not as classically what you've been taught. Like, Jack Antonoff is a collaborator of mine and one of my best friends. We established this thing that we love to do, and we call it the rant bridge. I could point to examples like Out of the Woods, Is It Over Now, Cruel Summer, and oftentimes we love these rant bridges where it's basically like stream of consciousness, endless pouring out of emotion, intrusive thoughts, like blended with metaphor, with discussion, with shouting. Like you want this rant bridge to feel.
The best example I can think of what she's talking about outside of her music would be Good Charlotte. Good Charlotte have a song. Is it Predictable? I think it's called Predictable. And there is what Taylor would call a rant bridge in that one where the lead singer goes into a phone booth, picks up the phone, and just goes crazy down the phone. That, I feel like, is the best example I can think of what she's talking about here.
The most intense of what that feeling is that you're trying to establish over the course of the song. And you want it to kind of be a crescendo. We usually love those so much that we then bring them back. So we'll go, you know, verse, chorus, rant bridge, sometimes like a little post-coda to that rant bridge, last chorus, bring the rant bridge back, maybe with the chorus chords underneath it. The Mirror Ball bridge, this was Jack sending me a track during COVID, and me immediately knowing that it needed to be about how I felt as a performer and an entertainer within this moment when entertainment and art has effectively shut down. I'm still gonna stand on this tightrope. I'm still up on the trapeze. I'm still gonna try to do tricks for you. But at the same time, you know, being a person in the public eye, I've really begun to realize that you are a mirror. Like, you are a mirror for your fans, for the media, for people on the internet, for just random, just people who don't even really care about your music, but they know who you are.
Does anyone else just feel like COVID never happened? Does anyone else feel like that? Like, it's not that it never happened, but it feels like a dream. It feels like it's just some blurry dream. Like, it's weird.
However they feel about themselves and their life will be projected onto how they perceive you.
It's not Taylor's music. Taylor's music is incredible.
A public person who makes art
It's a tough time.
is a mirror ball. And that's part of why I've been able to keep my wits about me through all this, because I know that. And I'm really kind of aware of that dynamic, but I'm still endlessly fascinated by people, by the human experience, by why people are the way they are, by the ways that they feel emotion. I think that's what keeps us connected, even though, you know, you can make these kind of like shockingly vulnerable confessions within a song by being like, I've never been a natural, all I do is try. And you say that at first, and I remember writing that and being like, oh my God, this feels like, do you want to say this? And I'm like, actually, I feel like a lot of people feel that way. That always overrides my discomfort with if a line feels too true, because I don't really think that there's anything that's too true.
I love that.
The whole thing with All Too Well was that this...
Where she feels like, should I write this? Am I being too honest, too true, too vulnerable here? And she goes, well, so many other people in the world are feeling this way. That's more important.
This was a very emotional rant that I did in like a sound check. We were rehearsing for the Speak Now tour. I was very sad in a way that, you know, you're like 21 years old and you're just like excruciatingly, just like you are. Sadness is you are sadness. In a break, I just started playing the same 4 chords over and over again. It's basically the same 4 chords over and over again for the whole song. And it just became this thing where I just started rambling, and this thing went on for a really, really long time. It was like more than 10 minutes that this rambling rant went on, and it wasn't cohesive and it wasn't really that structured, but it felt afterward like, I think my mom or somebody went up to the sound guy and was like, did you by any chance record any of that? And he was like, yeah, I did. And I would have walked away from it if he didn't have a recording of it. So I went back and listened to it, and I was like, oh, here's this 10-minute, like, basically catharsis of intense emotion. Like, there are some really angry, scathing parts that I was like,
this is amazing. This is amazing. Like, the story of this stuff, the fact that it was literally just this random sound guy who was like, do you have it? Yeah, I recorded it. Of course I recorded it. Every time Taylor speaks, boop, record, just in case something magical happens.
Kind of gonna have to make this into a song that's a little bit more palatable because I already felt so like raw putting that song out as detailed as it was. So then it goes out into the world. It didn't make a lot of noise, that song, for the first 6 months to a year, but then the fans just did a thing that they've done a few times where this song just keeps bubbling up. They did this with Cruel Summer too, where they're just like, no, we like it. We don't care if a label wants to put it out. We love this one. So I ended up playing it on the Grammys. I made the mistake of kind of explaining how the song came to be in an interview. It ended up being a really fortuitous mistake that turned into being like, oh, I'm so glad that happened. But for years, the fans were like, give us the 10-minute version, give us the 10-minute version.
I love Swifties so much. But tell us, I made a mistake. I let the Swifties know that something existed. And once you let Swifties know that something existed, they fucking want to see it. They want to see it. My word, can you imagine if Taylor like ever got into like ghost hunting or like supernatural stuff and like did like some kind of like ghost hunting show? With the way Swifties are, that shit would be uncovered in seconds. Like, she gets into mysteries and all sorts of different things. It would be done. It'd be done. Like, that's the reason she doesn't do it. She knows they're too powerful.
And I was like going back through
Bigfoot
diaries
would
and
be
finding
found.
like little fragments of it. And I didn't have the like old thing anymore. So I was looking through safes trying to find the CD, but I had to go back and piece together lyrics and stuff. But that was the most extensive restoration process I've ever done on a song. I don't think I'll ever experience anything like that again. There are so many different ways that a song begins in my world. I'll take an example like the song Elizabeth Taylor.
Such a well put together interview.
I'm riding in the car with Travis. I go on and explaining to Travis like why I love Elizabeth Taylor so much. She fought for artists' rights. She was exploited in so many ways, and yet she kept her humanity, she kept her humor, she kept her passion for life. And I'm just going on and on. I'm like, her eyes were violet. Some people said they were blue. Some people said they were violet. I think they were violet. And we arrive, we get home. He gets out of the car, and I'm just in my head, I'm like, this intrusive melody of like, I'd cry my eyes violet, Elizabeth Taylor. And I'm just like scrambling to open my record like app on my phone. But that's like one of those spontaneous.
Such a banging tune. I sound well old saying that, but it's true. It's true. That like, I cried my eye. It's so good.
This is where it floats down like a cloud in front of you, and all you have to do is grab it. And the song transpires from there. It comes as if from nowhere. That's a really fun way that songs come about. That's the way it happens most of the time. Another way that a song could happen is that a producer that I love to work with, like Aaron Dessner or Jack Antonoff, could make an instrumental, send it to me, and immediately I'll write what's called a top line on top of it. That's the vocal melody and the lyrics. Another way of writing songs is that you're in the room with your collaborator and one of you starts playing something. Like, for example, Jack starts playing this piano part and it turns into this song called New Year's Day. That piano part was just like enough to springboard the entire song.
There's glitter on the floor after the party.
Writing sessions is a way that I love
Gosh,
to
New
write
Year's
because
Day
you're
is a
all in the
tough
room,
one.
everyone's bringing ideas, everyone's chiming in. I always apply the rule, may the best idea win. I don't care if it came from you, or me. If it's better, that's what goes in the song. And I do kind of like it when people challenge me on something because I never want to be in the room with creators who are afraid that if they have a better idea, like they can't argue with me because it must be my idea that makes it through. I'm never gonna grow that way. Well, I think
God, I freaking love her. I do. I love her so much. It's like, challenge me. If you think I'm wrong, let me know. There's no like diva energy from Taylor. She doesn't go into a room and it's like, this is my room. I am in charge. Everyone listen to me. There's none of that. She goes in the room like a friend, sits down with other writers like a friend. And if someone has a better idea, she wants to hear it. She wants to hear everybody's opinion. Everyone's opinion is valued. That is amazing.
you know, the 2010s was a time for women in the entertainment industry that like, we need, like, we'll talk about it later. Like, we're all just still, we're all still limping away from that. And I think that conversations are much more healthy now around there's a difference between art and like going and ranting on an Instagram live. Like there's a difference. This is a song. This takes craft, this takes skill, this takes expertise. But I also am really excited that like I'm a massive Somber fan of his songwriting, and his lyrics are so intensely confessional. I don't like want another man's child to have the eyes of the girl I can't forget. Are you kidding me? Like having a male artist say stuff like that.
I don't want another man's child. Another man's child. God damn it. What? Why is my brain? All right. I don't want another man's child. That man's kid to have the eyes of a girl I cannot forget. So his kid has her eyes. So your partner has cheated on you, another person, they have a kid, and that kid has the eyes. Something like that, yeah?
That is really good for the cause of women to be able to say stuff. If there's any way we can make confessional songwriting a little bit more of something that isn't like, people take that as sort of like you were being messy or whatever. You have to
Not
be fair to
necessarily cheating
everyone
has
though,
taken
then.
place.
Are rap beefs messy or are they confessional? Like we've got to just like, let's make it a
I don't know if... Thing with rap beef. If you're talking about rap beef being messy, like a diss track, and is it confessional? It's confessional, but it's not your confessions. You're confessing someone else's shit.
music conversation rather than just like ganging up on the female artists. And I think the more male artists that are messy or emotionally complex or confessional or upset, the happier I am. I can only speak to me, but as I've grown up,
The problem with male artists being more open and more confessional is sadly it's still not there yet. And I definitely think the world is getting better, massively so. But it's not 100% there.
intensity
But
of
I
the
look
sort
forward
of,
to the day it is.
no pun intended, message in a bottle nature of my songwriting has shifted and changed into something else. It used to be like, I can't tell a person how I feel, so I'll write it in this song. And that was really important for me at the time that it was important for me. It's also, you know, important when you're in your early 20s and there's someone you shouldn't talk to and you don't want to call them because they're bad for you and it's toxic, so you write it in the song and that's where it lives, like almost as a method of like self-control or self-preservation or something. But for the Folklore album and everything like that, it wasn't as a response to having a public life and the intrusions that come with that. It was really more of just wanting to challenge myself as a writer. I really have always just thought it would be so amazing to write books. And it's so exciting to have the challenge of, could I get enough plot points in a 3.5-minute song to where people felt like they read something after they heard it, or just take you back to that
I love
bedtime
that.
story
It
kind of
fits with
tell me
her
a story.
style of
I want to be
writing
able
as
to
well.
put my own image on these characters. And it was really amazing when it opened up my world. I don't think my songwriting has ever been the same after Folklore. I have always had a little bit of that sort of character play in my songwriting since. And I hope it never goes anywhere because it's really fun.
You heard the rumors from Inez. You can't believe a word she says most times. This time it was true.
This has been
I kind of like being a narrator that's not the person.
I've never checked out a New York Times interview before, but the way they have done this is fantastic. The fact that it's quite simply just the question's not even being asked, Taylor in the chair. It's literally a radio show. It is an audiobook with Taylor.
I
Brilliant interview.
relate to. So the narrator in Clara Bow is either a studio, like a Hollywood studio person or a label executive who's sitting, in my mind, behind a desk and meeting with a brand new starlet who's just come to town. The exec says, "You look like Clara Bow in this light. It's remarkable. You're so special, you're amazing, we're gonna make you just like her." In my mind, that girl was Stevie Nicks, right? So Stevie Nicks sits down, they tell her she looks like Clara Bow, she's got those big moon eyes, and we're gonna make you just like her. Don't worry, we're gonna put you through this machine and you'll be a god. The second verse says, "You look like Stevie Nicks in this light, the hair and lips." So in my mind, that was me that sat down opposite that desk, right? I sit down at a record label and they're like, "You look like Stevie Nicks, we'll make you the next Stevie Nicks." And basically, you learn that like you're in this machine and they're trying to make you into a woman that they just idealized and then discarded. Like the entertainment industry love bombs women, right? we love you. We don't know who you are. Why are you even here? And so in the last verse, in my mind, it's a new artist that sits down across from a record label desk and they say, you look like Taylor Swift. In this light, we're loving it. You've got edge she never did. The future's bright, dazzling. And because that's also another thing that you get when you're a female in the music or the entertainment industry, movies, whatever. It's like, oh, you're like this person that we like. They name a big name and they're like, oh, but you're gonna be so much better. It's gonna be no, it's gonna be cooler. You're so much better. Like to offset the comparison.
That must be so weird. Especially if you either know that person or admire that person. Can you imagine how bizarrely awkward? Imagine that was in the workplace. Right now, wherever you're working right now, you go in the office and like, oh, your work is just like this other person. And you're like, it's like your coworker or something like that. And you're like, oh, but it's so much better. It's so much better than their work. Like, how freaking awkward must that be? Especially if you're entering into the same space that these people are already in.
On Red, there was a song that I wrote alone in a hotel room when I was 22 years old called Nothing New, where it sounds ridiculous, but at 22 years old, I felt completely washed up. I felt like maybe the only thing that made me special was that I was this like teen phenom, whatever I was looked at as. So I wrote this song and it includes lines like, you know, how can a person know everything at 18 and nothing at 22? Because when I was 18, I had the Fearless album come out and I had my first international #1s and everybody was like, oh, this writing, it's so true, it's so honest. She feels like she deserves to be here. And then there was this big upheaval of, no, she doesn't. No, she doesn't. She sucks, actually. And it was like, it really turned the tables on my perception of like, love can be so quickly handed to you and then taken away. And it's this kind of strange thing with fame.
I admire her so much, how she goes through these experiences and she just lyricizes them. She lives these moments, and instead of sitting down, stewing in them, which she does, she has those moments herself, but she will then vocalize it and make those moments known to the world. Like Taylor goes through something very personal, feels lost, and feels like love's been taken away, and feels like opinions on her are shifting and changing. And instead of just sitting on it and not talking about how she feels, she turns it into lyrics for us all to consume. Again, that realness.
And that was the first time I ever grappled with that. Somebody was like, oh, you're 22 years old and you're saying like, are you tired of me? If you're not yet, are you going to get tired of me? Because it's usually something that you would sing about later in life, but the entertainment industry, I'll tell you, there's 10 years for every year you're in it, but it's fun. Songwriting is something that, it's a very intimate, tiny little thing for me. I have a lot of things I like to do. I like to bake, I like to make art, I like to paint, I like to sew, I like to...
You know what's curious? I could see Taylor doing something else. I'm not saying she'd ever step away from music. I don't think she would, but just her face just then when she said that, I felt like there was a little tell there. I wouldn't be surprised if Taylor does something else alongside her music, whether it's acting or some kind of brand that she becomes or makes. I don't know. I wouldn't be surprised if that happens over the next couple of years.
Write songs. And I try to keep it as like dear to me as those other things I just named. I have to know that like there's certain things that we have as a tradition between me and my fans. They love for an emotional song to be track 5. There's like special things like that, but at the same time, there's sort of so many of them now, which is great, but there's corners of my fan base who are gonna take things to a really extreme place. There's nothing I can do about that. There's people who are gonna try to like do detective work, figure out the details. Who is that about? What is this? When it gets a little bit weird for me is when people act like it's sort of like a paternity test. Like, this song's about that person, because I'm like, that dude didn't write the song I did. But that's part of it. You have to hold tight to your perception of your art and your relationship with it, and then you just kind of have to like, there it goes. Hope you like it. If you don't now, hope you do in 5 years. And if you never do, then I was doing it for me anyway. Yeah, criticism has been a huge fuel for me. It's been a huge jumping off point. Like,
that must be so weird. It's such a weird thing that, like, so many of us will just never understand. Ever. Like, I don't understand it. You create something and then you just, whoop, there it goes. It's not mine anymore. But it's you. It's your words. It's your story. It's you crafted it. You made it. But now it belongs to everybody else. It's gone. It's crazy.
A creative writing prompt or something. There are so many songs in my career that would not exist, like Blank Space would not exist if I hadn't had people being like, here's a slideshow of all her boyfriends. Like, and then Antihero is a song that I'm so proud of still. Like, that song doesn't exist if I don't get criticized for every aspect of my personality that people, you know, have a problem with or whatever.
Did you hear my covert narcissism?
And it's such a great song.
My favorite thing when I sit down with new artists or songwriters is I'm like, why are you reading your comments? Like, that's too much of it. Like, you're inundating yourself with too much criticism that doesn't really have a focus. But I think a little bit of it, you gotta just be like, this is part of it. Like, don't make this make you stop writing or make you edit yourself or whatever. If it's an interesting point to you to kind of respond to, then that's a gift for you to be able to write something. Maybe you wouldn't have written something that day. But don't don't go to the notes app and post it. Like, write about it. Right, make art about this. Don't respond to like trolls in your comments. That's not what we want from you. We want your art.
Well done, everybody, on making this video. And I do want to just talk about Taylor's last note there. The artist spotlight will always put you straight in front of the world, right? And how's the best way to word this? You're gonna have internet trolls. You're gonna have people who leave you shitty comments, who don't say nice things about your music or your craft or your art in whatever you make. And what Taylor said there I find so interesting, because it's almost like capitalizing on someone's hatred. And that may sound like a weird thing, but I think that's an incredible thing. You have this person who's just being bitter and twisted and rude and posts these awful things. And you have an option there. You can respond to them, but then that person gets rewarded. If you respond to them, make it public, reply to them or anywhere, they are instantly rewarded. Even if, let's say, you have an incredibly loyal fan base like Taylor does, right? Got a massively loyal fan base. You respond to some criticism online, and then your fan base has your back. And it's like, yes, this person sucks, screw them. That point sucks, screw them. That person still is rewarded. They have been given the one thing that they desire the most. They've been given attention. And there will be a no small number of people who go over to their side or who back them up for their stupid freaking opinions. And you see that all the time today. There's a YouTuber, Moist Critical, who points this out, that today we live in extremes. There's no longer a middle road for people to walk down in any aspect. You no longer can think an album is good or a movie is good. Like okay, you can no longer listen to an album and go, yeah, it was fine. You have to love it or hate it. And that is how everything works in these days. It's become extremes. And Moist Critical was talking about this. And the other day, I watched a movie with my wife. I'm not going to say the movie, but it was a new movie. Sat down, watched the movie, and she really enjoyed it. And I went, yeah, it was good. I was like, the action was good. The gore was good. It was funny. It was a good movie. And I was like, it just wasn't very well written, in my opinion. It felt not needed. And I was like, it was okay. And my wife was like, and my wife like looked at me like, oh, okay. And I was like, that doesn't mean I didn't like it. I was like, I enjoyed the movie. I would watch the movie again. I was like, it just wasn't a 10 out of 10. And it's crazy that that's the case, that everything needs to be one side or the other, which is why in today's world, more so than ever, there's always people defending other people for heinous, weird, messed up stuff. And it happens so much now. And I don't know why it's become normal for there always to be somebody in defending something disgusting. It's not needed. There doesn't need to be constant extremes. So the reason I'm saying this is because in these online situations, you will always have, sadly, a bunch of people who will just defend shitty actions. And It's too common. And the second you give those people your attention, your time, you've, one, given them the most valuable thing anyone can give anybody, and that is time. And you never get that back. And two, you've given them exactly what they wanted. So what Taylor's saying, don't do that. Don't reply. Put pen to paper and make your reply a song. Then suddenly, that person becomes a shadow. Nothing happens. No one knows who. You make it a song. You take over that moment. That moment is no longer theirs. It's yours. Like she said when she was talking about people saying, this song's about this person, this song's about this person. Taylor saying, well, I wrote the song. The second you write the song, you wrote the song. It's yours. That moment becomes yours. I thought that was really interesting. This is an incredibly well done interview. I imagine, because my interview reactions don't get that many views, which is why I'm always like a little bit put off of doing them. Because like this was heavily demanded, but with my Swifties and with anyone, when I do these interview reactions, people aren't really necessarily interested in my reaction to them. They just want to know that I've watched it. And I always get annoyed because there's two different kinds of recommendations. There is the, Luke, you need to watch this, but I'm not going to watch your reaction because I don't care. And then there's the, Luke, you need to watch this, I need to see your reaction. And those are the ones I want. First ones, I don't want. If you want to recommend something, don't recommend it as a reaction if you're not going to watch it. And interviews are one of those things. So I don't think this video will do too well. But I really wanted to check it out anyway. I really wanted it. Like, so many people have been telling me how amazing it was. So regardless of the fact that it struggled to break 2,000 views, I felt like this was something I really wanted to do. And hopefully some of you enjoyed seeing my reaction to it. And I'm really glad we watched it. But make sure you guys give me recommendations in the future to stuff you want to see a reaction to, not just songs you want me to listen to or things you want me to see. I want you guys to give me recommendations of things you want to sit down with me and watch. That's the point. That's what reaction channel is about. I can listen and watch things in my own time. That's different. Anyway, I hope you all enjoyed this. Let me know what your favorite or most interesting moment of the interview was, and let me know what other reactions you want to see for these Tuesday slots. I hope you guys have a wonderful week. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe on your way out as well, my friends. And as always, you will see me in the next video.